Yeah, I just see Councillor Thompson connecting now, and then it looks like we will have everyone. So we'll just hold on a second. There he is. And Councillor Armour. And there he is. Great. Okay. Good evening. I would like to call the meeting to order and confirm that we have quorum and all of council is present. And I will ask Councillor Wiebe to read the land acknowledgement statement.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to respectfully acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe under the terms of the Robinson-Huron Treaty, number 61 of 1850, and the Williams Treaties of 1923. We commit to acknowledge, learn, educate, create opportunity, honor sacred places, and take actions towards real truth and reconciliation in support of our commitment to walking the path together in respect, peace, and harmony for future generations.
Thanks for that. Okay, I have a resolution moved by Deputy Mayor Alcock, seconded by Councillor Withey. Be it resolved that the regular council meeting agenda dated Monday, November 22nd, 2021 be adopted as printed and circulated. All in favor? That carries. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. We have an invited presentation. No, we don't have an invited presentation. We have a deputation tonight. Michael Snyder from the Alzheimer's Society of Muskoka is with us. Michael, if you can turn your video on now. There you are. Welcome to our council meeting, and the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Terziano. Members of the Huntsville Town Council, thank you very much for the opportunity to present to you this afternoon. I appreciate it very much, as does the Alzheimer's Society of Muskoka. My name is Michael Schneider, and I'm one of the Alzheimer's Society of Muskoka's public education coordinators. And it's a pleasure to be here presenting to you this afternoon. We would like to ask the town of Huntsville to participate in a flag raising for Alzheimer Awareness Month, which it will be in January of 2022. Hard to believe we're talking about January already, but there it is. Having the support of the town of Huntsville would mean a great deal to those people living in Huntsville, living with Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia, and their care partners. I'm sure that you've heard of Alzheimer's in the past before today. Falling under the umbrella term of dementia, Alzheimer's disease is a chronic and progressive neurodegenerative disease that destroys brain cells, causing cognitive loss, functional and physical ability loss, behavioral and mood changes, and memory loss over time. There's currently no cure for Alzheimer's disease, nor is there a treatment that will stop its progression. Several medications are available, however, that can help with symptoms such as decline in memory, language, thinking ability, and motor skills. But overall, this terrible disease is relentless in its progression and its effects. So I have some numbers for you here. There are many statistics out there, but here are some facts. Canada-wide, there are over 500,000 Canadians living with dementia today, and this number is expected to rise to over 912,000 by 2030. Each year, approximately 76,000 Canadians are diagnosed with dementia, and 1 in 5 Canadians experience caring for somebody living with dementia. Let's break it down a little bit further. In Ontario, there are over 250,000 Ontarians living with dementia, and in Muskoka Parry Sound, that number is over 2,700, with a number expected to double to 5,000 within the next 10 years. Despite the prevalence of dementia, there's a lot of stigma surrounding Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. Recent statistics show that 56% of Canadians are concerned about being affected by Alzheimer's disease. 46% of Canadians admit that they would feel ashamed or embarrassed if they were stricken with dementia. 87% of caregivers wish that more people understood the realities of caring for someone with dementia. So who are we? The Alzheimer's Society of Muskoka is dedicated to providing and improving the quality of life for individuals living in Muskoka and Parry Sound with Alzheimer's disease and other dementias. We were founded in 1983 as a registered charity, and we are committed to helping people with Alzheimer's disease and other dementias by providing care and support and information, by funding research to find a cure, advocating for people in positions of power such as yourselves, and increasing awareness for dementia and its impact on the whole family. In short, the Alzheimer's Society of Muskoka offers help for today through our programs and services for people living with dementia and hope for tomorrow by funding research to find a cause and a cure. We support programs. We offer support programs, educational programs, and resources, as well as referral services to ease the burden of care and improve the quality of life for people living with Alzheimer's disease and other dementias. Our services are free for as long as they are needed. So what is Alzheimer's Awareness Month? Each January, the Alzheimer's Society of Canada supports and leads Canada's Alzheimer's Awareness Month. During this month, we at the Society encourage organizations across Canada and individuals like yourselves to learn more about dementia and its stark impact on Canadians. In particular, we invite everyone to learn about the immediate realities of Alzheimer's disease and other dementias, for people living with dementia, to their families, to their caregivers, to their healthcare providers, and more. By understanding what people living with dementia experience in their day-to-day lives, their struggles, their successes, and their hopes, together we can raise awareness of dementia through Canada and Muskoka. In closing, I respectfully request that the town of Huntsville join us in supporting Alzheimer's Awareness Month in January 2022 by raising our blue forget-me-not flag. It's an easy start to helping your fellow Canadians who are living with this serious disease. Thank you very much for your time. I know that you have a full agenda, and I would welcome any questions that you may have.
Thanks for that, Michael. I am going to open it to council for questions. Councillor Withey. Take your mute off there.
Thank you. I think Councillor Alcock had beat me to the switch there, but anyways, thank you very much, Michael. Certainly, I'm 100% behind this. I lost my father to Alzheimer's, so I'm well aware of the toll it takes on everybody around, and I mean, not so much him. I don't think he noticed much, but anyway. Luckily, he was a happy guy all the way through, and I know a lot aren't. But anyways, I applaud what you do and support you 100%. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. That means a great deal to us.
Deputy Mayor Alcock.
Thank you, Your Worship. I also wanted to thank you, Michael, for your presentation tonight, and really say how much I appreciate the work of the Alzheimer's Society of Muskoka. I've participated in a few of the walks and fully intend to do it again post-COVID. And I just, similar to Councillor Withey, a number of people I know and in my family have suffered from dementia. And I was fortunate with my own father that he was a happy fellow. And so it was easier on the family. But again, I totally applaud the work that you do in your organization, and of course support your initiative.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. That means a great deal to us.
Okay, I think you realize our council is very supportive, and I think probably you have gotten the information to Brenda that she needs and to make the arrangements to do the flag raising in January. So, and if there's anything else we need, I know our clerks have your contact information, but we will definitely make that happen in January. And we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us tonight.
Well, I appreciate the time that you've allowed me to present to you, and best wishes for the rest of your meeting. Thank you very much to everybody.
Thank you. Okay, I have a resolution moved by Councillor Stone, seconded by Councillor Schumacher. Be it resolved that the regular council meeting minutes dated October 25th, 2021 be adopted as printed and circulated. Questions? All in favor? And that carries. We have a resolution, council, from our special council meeting just to correct some of the minutes, and that was our special council meeting for the that was our special council meeting planning issues with the community planning permit. So moved by Councillor Schumacher and seconded by Councillor Stone. Be it resolved that the special council meeting minutes dated October 27th, 2021 be adopted as printed and circulated with the following corrections. 1, Bill Maw be changed to Bill Long. 2, Ms. Long read a portion of section 2.11.1 of the proposed bylaw. At this time, Ms. Long's internet connection was lost. Be changed to Mary Jane Smith read a portion of section 211.1 of the proposed bylaw. At this time, Ms. Long's internet was lost, and I have a feeling that maybe should say Ms. Smith's internet connection was lost. Would the clerks clarify that for me before I get to this? Tanya, it says Mary Jane Smith read a portion, and then it said at this time Miss Long's internet connection was long. Should that be Mary Jane's internet?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Terziano, for catching that.
Okay. So council, that was just the people online for the meeting, looked at the minutes and clarified that we had recorded some of it wrong. So any questions? All in favor? That carries. Okay, reports from committees. We start with the Huntsville Public Library, but that was the October 19th meeting, which I had a conflict for and was not at. And I do notice that in the minutes, when you're not at a meeting, there's not a lot to talk about. So I even hesitate to ask if there's any questions from the meeting, because I'm not really sure what went on in it by the minutes, but so I'm just going to leave it at that and go on to Councillor Stone to talk about the BIA Board of Management.
Okay. So as construction wraps up downtown for the year, the BIA can't heap enough praise upon Dufferin Construction. The way they have interacted and coordinated and helped the businesses and their patrons has just been unbelievable, and it truly has been a wonderful experience from the business's perspective. This coming weekend, it's going to be amazing. There's something all weekend long. Thursday, businesses are open late. The tree on Town Hall steps will be lit, and there's a customer appreciation crawl for anyone, special sales between 5 and 9 on Thursday night. Friday, Black Friday, super sales all downtown. Saturday is a big deal. They're closing the road for the Muskoka Market, it's the Muskoka Christmas Market, and there's going to be vendors and cafes on the streets. Mr. and Mrs. Claus will be at Town Hall between 10 and 2. There's going to be outdoor fire pits, dancers, carolers, and this is really cool. At 7 o'clock sharp at night, there's going to be a drone show. They're lifting off from Rivermill Park, but you don't need to go to Rivermill Park. That's where they're lifting off from. It's going 400 feet into the air. They're going to make designs and pictures, and it's going to be really cool. But 7 o'clock sharp Saturday night. And on Sunday, between 10 and 2, there's a children's shopping experience in front of PharmaSave. So if some younger people don't have a lot of money and they want to buy some special gifts for their family, that's where to head on Sunday between 10 and 2. And that's it.
Great. Any questions? Councillor Withey.
Thank you, Worship. Sorry, I might have missed this. You said there's a drone show and they're taking off from the park, but don't go to the park. Did you say where you're supposed to go?
So
You're supposed to stay home?
No. You can go to the main street. You can go to Canvas Brewery. Anywhere in the area, you'll be able to see it. The reason we don't want people going actually to Rivermill Park is because they're lifting off from there. And just in case one of them drops out of the sky, that's where it will fall. So it's not the place to see it. You can see it from the town dock, Main Street, Canvas Brewery, but anywhere in the area, 400 feet in the air.
Not my house, though.
Probably not your house. No.
Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, and great report, Councillor Stone. I understand the Girls Getaway Weekend was another smashing success. I saw the statistics for the for Deerhurst. I'm just wondering how the other, if there's any word on how other establishments, other motels made out during the weekend.
I don't know about other hotels, motels. I know the businesses downtown did extremely well. Again, it continues to thrive for sure.
I noticed myself, even on the Sunday of Girlfriend's Getaway Weekend, I was downtown and they were still all over the street shopping. So a great weekend for our downtown businesses, I hope. Councillor Stone, you want to continue with Committee of Adjustment?
Very simply, we had 3 applications and none of them are controversial in any way.
Any questions? Huntsville Lake Bay's Chamber of Commerce, Councillor Weeb.
Thank you, Your Worship. Our meeting is coming up this coming week, but I do have a couple of things. As you mentioned, the Girlfriend's Getaway Weekend. I don't have numbers for it, but yes, the response has been very positive. As well as the holiday market. That's what Councillor Stone had mentioned. The Chamber's been working hand in hand with the BIA on that as well. I've got some numbers back though on how many COVID antigen rapid test distributions have been distributed. And it's been over 25,600 tests to 223 different businesses in Huntsville and the surrounding area. So pretty robust numbers there. The one thing that I think I saw some of you at it, but not all of you. I don't know if you've all been out yet, but the Eclipse Walk with Light show at of course, at Heritage Place. Fantastic show. It's tough to describe. It's just, you have to be there to know what it's like. I thought it was just a really fantastic display and an interesting experience that is really quite universal, right? So of any age, whatever you're into, you'll find something there that will spark your interest. It's really fantastic. Anyway, the numbers coming back from there are incredible. The Friday and Saturday nights have been just through the roof. So we're really excited about it. I think that some people are going to be waiting till we get some real snowfall to do the snowshoe through there, which will be a whole new experience. Because it takes on a whole new character when you're traveling through the snow, and I think it's going to be great all winter long, and we're just so thrilled and so proud of not just the Chamber but all those involved with it. And the last item, the Lions Lookout Can Lake skating rinks. The Chamber's working still with that with our staff and other partners to try and see if we can get that to come off the ground. I know we need cold weather, and with cold weather comes snow, but so it's a mixed blessing, right? We're still hanging on to reasonable temperatures, so it'll be a while, I think, for the rinks to really take shape. But we have no doubt that something will come of it once winter really hits. So that's it for now. Thanks.
Great, and just a little more about how our rink up at Lions Lookout Field. I know that our Public Works Department got the water line installed up there, so that's ready to go. So that was a big piece of the puzzle. So there should be no reason other than a balmy winter not to have ice up there this year. Okay, Municipal Accommodation Tax. The transfer agreement and the new 2-year term agreement that Council had talked about earlier went before the Amended Board, and they supported everything that we had put in it. So that new agreement, I think, will probably be signed by bylaw, probably, or an updated bylaw probably next month. So that's all good to go. Any questions? Okay. I have a resolution moved by Councillor Armour, seconded by Councillor Weed. Be it resolved that the General Committee meeting minutes dated October 27th, 2021, and the recommendations contained therein be hereby adopted as printed and circulated. All in favor? And that carries. Okay, Planning Committee. I have a resolution moved by Councillor Fitzgerald and seconded by Deputy Mayor Alcott. Be it resolved that the Planning Committee meeting minutes dated November 10th, 2021, and the recommendations contained therein be hereby adopted as printed and circulated, with the exception of recommendation number development 69-21 to be pulled and voted on separately. Councillor Fitzgerald, you were chair of that meeting. Would you like to highlight?
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Everything was well presented by our planning staff, and if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Questions? All in favor of the resolution? That carries. And now, Council, I am going to relinquish the chair to Councillor Thompson, as I am the one who asked for the one resolution from planning to be pulled. Councillor Thompson?
Thank you, Your Worship, and happy to do so. With the three resolutions, and while I still have full screen here, the original resolution moved by Her Worship, the amendment as well, and then the amended resolution, but I don't have seconders for any of those. I understand that Deputy Mayor Alcock, you want to speak to this as well. So can I put you down as seconder for any of these or all of these? Okay, perfect. Consider it done. The clerk will take note of that. Okay, I will read them for you. Moved by Councillor or Mayor Terziano, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nancy Alcock, be it resolved that Council approves zoning bylaw amendment Z 25/2021 HTE, the purpose and effect of which is to rezone the subject lands from a shoreline residential 4 SR4 zone to a shoreline residential 2 zone, with an exception, SR2, to permit the creation of one new shoreline residential lot to implement a 20-meter shoreline buffer and an increased easterly interior side yard setback of 10 meters, which is to remain in a vegetative state. And we have an amendment to that, so I'll go to that if that's appropriate, Madam Clerk.
I think, Councillor Thompson, you might have read the final amended main motion.
You know what I did? I had everything rolled down to the bottom of the screen. Sorry, Madam Clerk. So let me do this again and moved by Mayor Terziano, seconded by Deputy Mayor Alcock. Be it resolved that Council approved zoning bylaw amendment Z 25/2021 HTE, the purpose and effect of which is to rezone the subject lands from a shoreline residential 4 SR4 zone to a shoreline residential 2 zone, with an exception, SR2, to permit the creation of one new shoreline residential lot and to implement a 20-meter shoreline buffer. And then to the amendment, which we will then discuss, or the mayor will discuss, will speak on if she wishes to, and then we'll have discussion. Be it resolved that the following be struck out, and to implement a 20-meter shoreline buffer, the following to be inserted in its place: to implement a 20-meter shoreline buffer and an increased easterly interior side yard setback of 10 meters, which is to remain in a vegetative state. Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor. And the reason I pulled this motion was because I guess I just was not quick enough to get my hand up at the planning meeting, but I wanted to speak further to it. And it's not that I'm opposed to the severance or creation of the new lot at all, but there was the neighboring property that now has a separation of about 600 feet between his dwelling and the nearest neighbor. And so he was requesting some consideration of his privacy. And as much as the application identified a potential building envelope, it didn't actually have anything that supported it in the resolution. So the purpose of this amendment is to simply pass the resolution that was before us, but to increase the side yard setback on the neighbor's lot line to 10 meters and to have it remain vegetative. Don't think it has any negative impact on the application at all. It just gives the neighboring property a little bit of buffering.
Deputy Mayor Alcock.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. I just, given I wasn't at the meeting, I did have a quick chat about this, and it seemed like a reasonable comment from the mayor with respect to the addition of the 10-meter setback. And so and it also doesn't seem to create a hardship for the applicant either. So I was supportive of the mayor's amendment to this. And unless there are comments from committee where they felt that it was an unreasonable request.
Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Chair Thompson. It was unfortunately a business, the meeting protocol that I was following, so I do apologize to our worship. The question was called. I tend to agree with the opinions that they've shared with us, that it's not onerous of us to ask this of the applicant. So I'm definitely will support it as well. And let's move on.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Armour.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question. Has it been confirmed the building envelope on this new lot that we're developing will be able to maintain that 10-meter buffer? Do we know that for sure?
Your worship.
I probably would ask Director Maxwell. I believe it's a very substantial lot. I mean, the side yard setback is already 6 meters, doesn't need to remain vegetative. So we're only adding 4 additional meters and asking it to remain, but I don't recall the actual size of the lot.
Okay. Director Maxwell.
Thank you, Chair Thompson. At this time, I don't believe there were any restrictions on where the dwelling should be located. It was a substantial lot that was being proposed, and the important aspect was the shoreline setback of 20 meters, but I don't think there were any concerns with development occurring anywhere else on the property.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to reduce my screen here, so bear with me. Make sure that I get the right one this time, Madam Clerk. And of course, my screen is now frozen. Here we go. So moved by Her Worship, Karen Terziano, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nancy Alcock. Be it resolved that the following be struck out. Okay, I'm in the wrong spot. Here we go. Here's the amended. This is a good time for my screen to go haywire. Here we go. This is the amended resolution moved by
Councillor
Mayor
Thompson?
Yes.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. You actually read the motion to amend already. So if
Yes.
you just want to call that vote, we'll start with that one if you could.
Of course. It's been a long time since I've been in the chair. Yeah, all those in favor of the amendment. I don't have my screen up, so I'll take your word for it. Clerk Tanya, did everyone agree?
Yes, sir. That was good.
Okay, thank you. So let's go now to the amended resolution moved by Mayor Terziano, seconded by Deputy Mayor Alcock. Be it resolved that Council approved zoning bylaw amendment Z25 2021 HTE, the purpose and effect of which is to rezone the subject lands from a shoreline residential 4 SR4 zone to a shoreline residential 2 zone with an exception SR2 to permit the creation of 1 new shoreline residential lot to implement a 20-meter shoreline buffer and an increased easterly interior side yard setback of 10 meters, which is to remain in a vegetative state. Any further questions? All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. And Your Worship, with no trepidation, I hand the floor back to you.
Thank you for doing that, Councillor. Okay, and I have a resolution moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Armour. Be it resolved that Council amends recommendation number GC 15621, Council resolution number 16521 as follows. The amount of 200,000 be struck out and replaced with 311,773 and 10 cents. And Colleen, are you going to speak to this, or Steve?
I'd be happy to. Thank you, Chair Terziano. My report before you highlights some differences between the numbers that were approved for this project and where our quotes came in after the tendering process closed. The RFP closed on October 4th. And I would note one difference between when we had budgetary quotes obtained and when the tender actually closed. We did change site of where the installation would take place. So a slight difference in the work required, the scope of work being tree clearing, stump removals, that type of thing. So that was in addition to what the original scope of work was to be.
Questions? And just so the public knows, we're talking about the new pickleball courts. Councillor Stone.
Well, I just have a comment. So I'm okay with the pickleball courts. I think it would be a great addition to what we serve our people with amenities. But the cost has now ballooned over 50%. There is no mention in the report about the money we have to put aside to replace this in the future in our asset management plan. I'm really concerned with the number right now, and I don't know if this is the year for us to do it.
Okay. Good comment. Any others? Councillor Wheat.
Thank you, Worship. So just to be clear, the additional costing for this falls largely with the change of site in terms of tree removal, site prep. Am I understanding that right? And what would I guess, how do we quantify that? Is that the full kind of extra 100,000, or can we kind of get more into the details of it?
Sure. Through you, Mayor Terziano. So a portion of it would be as a result of that. It was March, the end of March when we received the budgetary quote. It was beginning of September when we went out. So the site changed. We also, we only had one bid on the project. My suspicion is that many contractors are busy and they know their schedules for spring are already planned. It may just be a matter of availability of contractors scheduling wise that they're all busy. And so having only one bid, it is our only option if we choose to go ahead.
I think, Colleen, can you clarify though how much more of that 100,000 is for site prep versus the actual court? Because I thought we were intending to do the site preparation this fall, either ourselves or contracted out separately than the court itself.
Through you, Mayor Terziano. So we had never intended to do that site work ourselves that I'm aware of. And I can tell you the breakdown in pricing tells me that approximately between $54,000 and $60,000 is attributed directly to the site clearing.
Any other questions? Councillor Armour.
Thank you, Worship. Just a quick one. Are we paying for this completely out of Parks reserves, or how are we funding the funding for the extra cost here?
Through you, Mayor Terziano, in consultation with Director Mackenzie, the funds would be coming out of the same account that we had originally planned. So there is money enough to cover that. It's called the Parkland Reserve Fund.
Councillor Weed.
Thank you again, Your Worship. I was also wondering about the 55 Plus Legacy Fund, because I know that was supposed to be dedicated towards senior programming activities. And I know pickleball it's kind of come on as a big one, especially with the games last time that we hosted. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we've got 41,000 or so in that fund. I'm just wondering what, if possible, if that could be something that like a fund that we could tap into. I'm not sure if Director Babineau's on this call, but she could speak to that, or someone could.
I see Julia has lit up her screen. I think she can.
Yes, thank you. So through your worship, we did look into that, and I do believe that we could use that $41,000 towards this project.
So if we were to go ahead at this 311, would we be preparing another resolution for the funding source, or would we do that through budget? Or, I mean, right now, I think the old report stands that it's all coming out of Parkland Reserve. We can do a resolution that identifies the legacy fund as $40,000 worth of that. If council, we need 2/3 of the vote for this too. So just basically to increase the amount from 200 to 311. Tanya, if you're there, can we deal with this resolution and prepare another resolution for funding? Or do we have to amend
Mayor
this?
Terziano.
Okay, let's deal with this first, and then we'll deal with the funding second.
We will, if I may, we will amend this motion to add it in.
Okay, you want to do an amendment?
Yes, and I can bring that up whenever you're ready.
I think we're ready.
Are you able to see that?
Yeah, and it looks like it's moved by Councillor Weeb and seconded by, can we have a seconder for that? Somebody shout out because I can't see you.
Councillor
Will,
Fitzgerald
I
has
will.
raised his hand.
Saw something, you heard somebody there. Be it resolved that the following paragraph be added, and further that the project be awarded and funded by the town of Huntsville's Community Services Senior Programs allocation from the 2019-55 Ontario Winter Game Legacy Fund in the amount of $41,567.37, and the remainder from Parkland Cash in Lieu Reserve. Thanks for that. So let's deal with the amendment first. Questions, Councillor Fitzgerald.
Just a typo. It says Councillor Jonathan Fitzgerald in the motion.
And you'll fix that.
The dynamite councillor, that would be.
Are there any questions on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment? All in favor of the amendment? Councillor Thompson, are you frozen because your hand's not going up?
Yeah, I just unfroze actually as you asked for that question. So I'm not going to vote on it because I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it through your worship. So unless you wanted to repeat it, I'll just bypass on the vote.
I think we had 2/3 anyways, and assuming we still needed the 2/3. So I will say that carries, the amendment carries. So then the resolution as amended. Any questions on the resolution as amended? Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Armour. Be it resolved that Council amends recommendation GC 15621, Council Resolution number 16521 as follows. The amount of 200,000 be struck out and replaced with 311,773.10, and further that the project be awarded and funded by the town of Huntsville's Community Services Seniors Programs allocation from the 2019 55+ Ontario Winter Game Legacy Fund in the amount of $41,567.37, and the remainder from Parkland Cash in Lieu Reserve. All in favor? And that carries with 2/3. Thank you for that. We're already at bylaws, and I have a resolution moved by Councillor Schumacher, seconded by Councillor Stone. Be it resolved that bylaw numbers 2021-99 and 2021-100 be reported and read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 22nd day of November 2021. Bylaw 2021-99, Neer and Francis. Bylaw 2021-100, Harris and Williamson. All in favor? That carries. Okay, now we have no previous business. Oh, okay. So I have a resolution moved by Councillor Weeb and seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. Be it resolved that council approves the spend of up to $3,000 to be taken from council's 2021 discretionary fund for the Truth and Reconciliation Acknowledgement to be located in the new park between Trinity Church and Town Hall, 33 and 37 Main Street East. And council, just as a bit of an update on this project, we have our rock picked out. We have our statement, which is approved. I've talked to, or with the help of Colleen McDonald, talked to the engravers and have a ballpark cost of putting our land acknowledgement statement on the rock. We've talked with a bronzing artist who has given us a ballpark quote to do the bronze shoes and bronze smudging bowl. All of this to help recognize the Truth and Reconciliation calls to action. And call to action number 81 was calling on the provincial and federal governments to create monuments or memorials to recognize the residential schools and our ancestors. And I think as a municipality, we have a responsibility to do the same if we can. And I think that in our new park, we have a great opportunity to do that. I have talked locally with Joyce Jonathan Crone, who Joyce is a Mohawk and a member of the Six Nations, but she lives here. She spearheaded the Orange Ribbon program in Rivermill Park. She's an educator, a journalist, an Indigenous rights advocate, and she's really helped us with getting this right. I've also been to the Muskoka Area Indigenous Leaders Table, and I must say they were very supportive of our project. Chief Williams from Rama has offered their cultural table to give us sort of, we're going to send the final project, or the final concept to them to make sure we're getting it right. Chief Williams talked about when you're using a rock, there's a certain direction for it to be faced, and there's certain plantings to be around it. But I'm just going to share my screen and show you the rock we've actually picked out. And thanks to Lisa Skolnick, she's actually put our land acknowledgement statement on it. This is not the size or the final project. It's just to give an idea. And I hope I can do this and show you sort of where it's going to go quickly. All right, let's see. We'll see how technical I am here now. Oh yeah, I practiced earlier. I'm not getting all my screens. Well, might not be happening. Let me try once more. Just a sec.
Take your time.
No, it's not going to happen, you guys. Hang on, one more try. Oh, is that there?
Yep.
Is it there? Okay, so this is our actual rock. So that's not the actual finished product, obviously, but these would be a pair of bronze shoes. We would put a smudging bowl up on the top of it so that if people wanted to gather and smudge, they could. And of course, that's our acknowledgement statement. Well, we don't have the font and everything worked out yet. Now, see if I can get rid of that and show you the location. So there's the little garden just between the church and the park. And we're hoping to locate it right in there. And then we have the accessible pathway that comes down, so anybody and everybody could gather around it. So that's kind of the idea. So that is the purpose of the resolution. And then I actually, because we did this all up before we had the actual quotes from the people who are going to help us out. So I'm hoping to move an amendment to actually increase that 3,000 to 4,000 to make sure we can get the entire project done. And the goal is to have this ready for install in May of 2022. So happy to answer any questions. Deputy Mayor Alves.
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't have any questions. I just want to say I think this is a brilliant initiative on your part, and I want to thank you for spending as much time and getting it done. I think it's a real statement and a testament to, I think, what the people in our community feel is important, and I think for the price tag of $4,000, it's not a lot of money for what this is all about. So I'm 100% supportive of everything you're doing here.
Thank you. Maybe I could get you to move the motion to increase the funding then.
Sure.
Councillor Thompson.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I'd like just to echo Deputy Mayor Alcock's comments. I think this is terrific, and kudos to you for taking the initiative and working to get this done. So I think it's a great project.
Tanya, you have an amendment for me, I think.
I do, Mayor Terziano. I will put it up for you.
So moved by Deputy Mayor Alcock, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Be it resolved that the amount of 3,000 be struck out and replaced with 4,000. Questions? All in favor? Oh, questions? First I'm saying question. No. Okay. Councillor Armour, questions?
Thank you, Worship. Are we? Do you feel this is going to be enough, or should we just wait to come back if we need to add more to it?
I think we've got the quotes for the bronzing and for the engraving now, so I think we should be fine to get it done. I mean, I know that our public works crew will help us to get it in place and things like that, so we shouldn't be looking at any costs. And if we do, we can address it next year. This is unused council discretionary funds from this year that we're going to use, and I can't think of a better way to use it, seeing as we haven't done really much else this year. So,
thanks.
All in favor of the amendment? That carries. So the main motion is amended. Moved by Councillor Wiebe, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. Be it resolved that Council approves the spend of up to $4,000 to be taken from Council's 2021 discretionary fund for the Truth and Reconciliation Acknowledgement to be located in the new park between Trinity United Church and Town Hall, 33 and 37 Main Street East. All in favor? And that carries. Thanks for that, Council. Appreciate that. Correspondence is in your package, which then I've lost my agenda. But I think that takes us to District Council updates. Let's start with Councillor Withey in Health Services.
Thank you, Worship. I think you start with me every week, and it's nowhere near the way the alphabet works. But anyway.
It's the way the clerks put it on paper.
Well, I'm going to be super brief because there was no meeting. And the meeting that we had was a joint Finance and Health Services meeting, and that was all in camera. So I can't tell you anything.
Thanks for that report.
You're
Councillor
welcome.
Thompson, engineering.
Thank you, Your Worship. And once again, this is not in alphabetical order, but I'm okay with that. Yeah, we had a joint meeting last week with corporate services and dealing with budgetary issues for 2022. And it was quite lengthy. And I think there may be at some point where I might ask you to jump into, Your Worship, especially when it comes to solid waste management, because I know that you had I think you have maybe a different opinion on that. But anyway, in any event, the big news with water and wastewater is there will be an increase next year. It's marginal, $3.04 a month, based on a $300,000 assessment. So that works out to about $36.48 a year based on that assessment. And the assessment thing, I guess, is questionable. I mean, we don't have no idea what the actual average assessment is in our district anymore, because we haven't had Impact do their job for the last 3 years now. So anyway, I guess we'll find out in due order. The other part of it, of course, was waste management, and there will be a significant increase in next year, and some changes in services as well. The proposal going to next council is that garbage bags be reduced from 3 to 2 starting on April 1st. And the biggest part of the change and leading probably more than anything else to an increase in costs is the implementation of a more robust organic pickup. And initially it's going to be organics will be available or available for deposit, I should say, at transfer stations and so on and so forth. I think Huntsville is going to be sort of the first one off the mark with regards to this, but eventually the goal is to have all of Muskoka, with the exception of Lake of Bays, because they don't have her curbside pickup, but all of Muskoka to have green bins, and that's going to add substantially to the costs and so on and so forth. Anyway, there will be a significant cost, and I know that when I looked around the table, Your Worship, when the vote came with regards to this particular part of it, you seem to be reluctant to approve, and I think it was because it was above the recommended increase level. So if you wanted to speak to that, I would be more than happy. And as far as actual costs and more information on this, I'm really going to have to do some more digging on it, because it's really convoluted and quite complicated. And I'd be happy to bring a more in-depth report for General Committee on Wednesday. But Worship, if you wouldn't mind participating in this part of the discussion, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. The budget guidelines for water and sewer and also for waste pickup were set, and staff probably for many good reasons could not come back and meet the budget guidelines that were set. About the same time we were setting budget guidelines at finance, engineering and public works were developing a 5-year strategy for garbage that had a lot of costs associated with it. So I'm not surprised. However, I'm always in favor of a little pushback when something comes in above budget guidelines, and we'll see when it goes to full council whether there is any. But as far as waste goes with our just with our community, it's becoming increasingly important that we all do a much better job of recycling, of using green bins, and of reducing our waste, because some of the costs that are driving this up are that we just don't have landfill space. And if we use green bins, it doesn't go to the landfill. If we use recycling, it doesn't go to the landfill. But the other important part of it is we need to sort. We need to have our recycling sorted properly and have it clean. And we need to not contaminate our green bins. Cost for waste in our community is just going to continue to go up unless we learn to reduce waste. Really, it's on all of us. And one of the points that I made at district council is that I'm fortunate that I have green bin service, and we are going to get more of it, but I walk down the street and not everybody in my community uses green bin. So the truck goes down and the green bin's available, but if people don't use it, then their green bin waste is going to the landfill site, and that's the room we're running out of. So it's really important that that we start to really think about our future as far as waste goes. Questions, Councillor Fitzgerald?
Thank you, Worship. I guess the question's more directed to Councillor Thompson. I know that the initial date for these transfer stations to be completed has changed a few times. What is the estimated arrival of our new transfer stations?
I think you're referring to transferring our transfer station from Sisted to Medill. Is that your question, Councillor?
Yeah, that in the removal of the numerous bin sites across the communities.
Yeah, well, the initial push, of course, came from MOE, and that had to do with the more, I guess, bin sites that were in a more precarious position with regards to water access points and so on and so forth. So there were 23 of those that had to be looked after immediately, and there was no push, there was no negotiating on that one at all. But what the MOE is asking, and we did initially ask for more time, because they basically, part of the problem is they implement these changes to be in effect April 1st. And when you have the incredibly huge seasonal population that we have, you're going to be implementing these changes, and a significant number of seasonal people will not be notified of it. They will have no way of knowing until actually they drop something off and it's not going to be picked up, type of thing. So we got some leeway on some of those issues, Councillor. But the date for having everything done with regards to all of the bin sites and transfer stations in effect, primarily, and this primarily affects Georgian Bay and Muskoka Lakes, but would be in 2024. The one bin site that we had here, which was at River Cove, okay, that's already been taken away, and that's already caused problems. The first Monday after I guess it was 2 weekends ago, there were 20 garbage bags at the road. People were not aware of the change that had taken place there. So I made a phone call now, and we had that looked after. But that's some of the challenges. So in answer to your question, we're looking at having this whole thing buttoned up by 2024.
Thank you.
You bet.
Deputy Mayor Alcock.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I, if I may, I had a couple of comments, and, but now one of them is a follow-up to Councillor Thompson. So I think I'm a bit confused. I had understood that the unmanned sites would be out by April 23. But maybe you're saying that it's just the first phase for April 23. And for me, I think the earlier the better, because to your point, Your Worship, they are the source of a lot of waste. And, you know, we have recycling bins. People don't recycle. They throw garbage in the recycling. So I couldn't agree with you more about our own responsibility. And I was supporting Councillor Thompson, saying that it's really difficult not to have the price go way up when you're trying to implement something like the green bin across all of the municipality. I can hardly wait till we get curbside pickup for that. But I am, maybe if I could go back to Councillor Thompson, just my confusion around what was the drop dead date for April 23. I thought that was a date for something.
Okay. I'm going to ask council to give me a little bit of time to work this one out, because I said it's very, very convoluted. And the reason is that there's negotiation going on with a lot of the marinas and so on and so forth, right? Because a lot of the drop-off points have been with the marinas, and that's part of the negotiation. So if you'll give me till Wednesday, I'm going to be able to, I'll do what I can and give you more specific dates on these different parts of the project, but also on prices and so on and so forth as well. But I know
Thanks,
that,
Councillor.
no, that's no problem. And to give you some perspective too, Councillor, on the cost of the green bins. I know there was a pilot project that was done when I was first on Public Works. And I think it would have probably been in 2007, 2008, somewhere around there, when a pilot project was conducted in Bracebridge, and the cost of a ton of pickup for trash was, let's say, $100 a ton. And then for recycling was 150. And I'm just throwing figures out here. But the cost for organics was in the $700 a ton range. So those are the costs you're looking at. That was back then, and I'm sure we're going to be much more streamlined nowadays. But yes, there's a bigger cost involved for sure. I'm using that as a comparison, and that's one of the reasons why we haven't had a very robust organic pickup or program, is because of the cost involved type of thing. But as the mayor pointed out, we're now down to one landfill site in Muskoka, and that's at Rosewarne and Bracebridge. And there were, I don't know how many cells initially, 27, 28 cells, but already they've been talking about having to add one. And this landfill site will have an expiry date now of 2036. And so, yeah, we have some work to do. So with all of these programs in place, and reducing the garbage bags from 3 to 2 and then 2 to 1 and organic pickups, then maybe we can hopefully extend the life of that landfill site beyond 2036 type of thing.
I think one of the other strategies, Councillor Thompson, was eventually we're going to go to clear bags too, which helps helps so that you can't hide your garbage where it shouldn't be. But Councillor Armour, you had the next question.
Thank you. You just stole my glory. I was going to ask the question there. Are they thinking about going to clear bags to try? I know other municipalities have done that and had huge success. So thank you.
It's a few years away, unfortunately. This is a 5-year strategy, and some of this stuff is not going to kick in for a number of years. So, Councillor Weed.
Thank you, Worship. I guess I'm wondering if as this strategy unfolds, will there be a more robust education campaign in terms of a mail out maybe every year with the tax bill? Because as people try and think they're doing the right thing, oftentimes they just haven't been refreshed on what goes where and how well they need to rinse and all these things. If you get reminded every year with a one page stat sheet or a little info sheet, just kind of reminding you how things are done and what you can do better, and maybe how best to do your own compost in your own backyard, etc. I could go a long way. So I'm just hoping that I just want to pass that through to district or my district colleagues, that I'm hoping that we can just up the ante in terms of education. Thanks.
Yes, if I may, Your Worship, yes, and actually good point, Councillor. That is part of the strategy for sure. The challenge is, I mean, when you look at Muskoka Lakes and 6,500 permanent residents, but then the number of seasonal residents increases that by 7-fold, and communicating with those people and at whatever address they happen to be at, it is challenging. But your point is well taken, and that is definitely part of the strategy.
Okay, I think that does our Engineering Public Works Finance meeting. Deputy Mayor Alcock, how did Community and Planning Services go?
Thank you, Your Worship. It was fine. It was long though, but I won't go over every item because I know how Councillor Withy hates that. So, and also to follow such a good, robust conversation over Councillor Thompson's minutes, that is difficult. So we started with a presentation from Jeff Ross, who's the chair of the Muskoka Watershed Council. And the reason why I did want to highlight this is the Watershed Council has been doing a governance and a strategic plan review. And one of the strategic plan issues that was raised, a lot of the membership feel that they're too closely aligned or tied to the District of Muskoka. So there are a number of people within and organizations within the membership who felt that they should start moving towards a little bit of independence, and consequently they proposed to merge what we currently have, the executive and the board. And the executive is made up of district councillors as well as members of the Watershed Council. So there was a huge discussion around that because there were issues raised around it. So staff will be coming back with a report on that. But needless to say, the Watershed Council has the authority and independence to make decisions on their own. And I suspect they're going to move in that direction anyway. The committee also approved 2 OPAs for the township of Lake Bays. And we also approved the awarding of 2 contracts under the Integrated Watershed Management Initiatives, and one of those would be for further floodplain mapping, close to $500,000 towards that. So that actually, things are really rolling as along under the Integrated Watershed Management Initiative. Under housing, Jackie Mattice, who's our Director of Housing Programs, had a fantastic PowerPoint presentation on the 4 main areas of what the district does for affordable housing, including their own community housing programs. And one thing that was highlighted, and they will be asking for in the budget process, is 2 new staff to cover what they call housing development projects. And an example that might fall under that would be when Councillor Wiebe talked about the possibility of building a tiny home community in Huntsville. We reached out to the district to have them engage, be involved in some way in that project. And the district is not set up right now to have dedicated staff to deal with the alternative types of housing programs that have come up through the Housing Task Force and other ways, such as Councillor Wiebe did. So I certainly support their effort, because I think that the future of trying to do anything on housing means that we have to look at alternative solutions, because what we're currently providing through the district isn't nearly enough. The numbers are unbelievably we now have a housing wait list of 600. It's gone up, not down, and no matter what our efforts are. Anyway, I think looking at the presentation is well worth everybody's time. We also got more money from the province for just under the Canada-Ontario Community Housing Initiatives. That was also from the federal government, to the tune of $233,000, and that money is going to be used to go towards capital repair on some of the district housing areas. And we saw in an earlier presentation the need to invest in our own housing stock is again off the charts. So that money, I think, is well deserved, and there will be some going towards our Sabrina Park in Huntsville. And other than that, we had a few updates under social assistance and under children and senior services. And that was it. That's my report.
Okay, questions? No, we like talking about garbage more than anything else, don't we? The regular finance meeting was very brief. Mostly variance reports. We did get an update from David Brushy from Muskoka Community Futures on the uptake on the government loans and grants. great program. Huntsville certainly had lots of applications in and lots of applications that were awarded dollars. And I think sometime during the process, they upped the forgivable part from 40% to 50% too. So that was a good update. As far as district went, Township of Georgian Bay is leading the way to try to get a William Grenville Davis Education Center for the Great Lakes built, and that's the process there is to get it named after the late Bill Davis. They're leading the charge on that. I think district has jumped in to help with the feasibility costs of that. And probably the other item that we had some discussion on was the indexing of development charges, and there was robust discussion about whether or not that we should be increasing that or not. And at the end of the day, we did. I think 7.9%. So for the development charges, that's pretty much district. Any questions? Okay, I have just a couple of updates for council before we adjourn. I know that Councillor Weeb already talked about the Eclipse Walk with Light at Muskoka Heritage Place. So I won't say much more other than to go and see it if you haven't, and even if you've seen it once, I think it's something you can see twice, and it certainly is affordable at $5 and free for kids 12 and under. So take your friends if they're here for Christmas. I guess Councillor Stone talked enough about the Christmas market this weekend, but again, it'll be a great downtown event. The 33rd annual food drive is coming up Wednesday, December 1st, always the first Wednesday in December, and that is the first this year. It starts at 6 o'clock. Fire trucks with the assistance of the OPP, paramedics, public works, volunteers will be going door to door to get healthy, non-perishable food items. They're asking people to leave their food out at the end of their driveways, certainly on their porch. They don't want to knock on doors, of course. Leave your porch light on so that they know you've got something out there. And if you aren't home or can't have something out that night and want to drop off, you can drop off at the Huntsville Fire Station. You can drop off at Salvation Army at Mary Street, the Port Sydney Fire Hall, the Lake of Bays Fire Halls. There's one at Limberlost, Fox Point, and in Baysville. So lots of places to drop off if you miss the food drive. Some of the much needed items this year are peanut butter, jam, canned meats, canned fruit, canned vegetables, instant oatmeal, hamburger helper, granola bars, juice, anything non-perishable. I think if you've been part of this project, you're well aware of what's needed and how much the need is. So mark your calendar December 1st for that. Quickly on Main Street, the project is at an end for 2021. With the market coming up this weekend, they did not attempt to get Main Street open because we would have been closing it for the market. So they're shooting for early next week. And then that'll be the section from they'll just leave the section from Centre to Lorne for next year. But I think early next week sometime we'll see traffic return to normal on Main Street. And I think that will be very welcome. I think it's been a long haul, but it's gone very well. And I think we're going to be very proud of our Main Street when it's all done. Just one last thing on a sad note. I think everybody realizes we lost a pretty significant member of our community a few weeks ago in Don McCormick. And he gave to the community of Huntsville day to day in so many ways. He was a science teacher and department head at Huntsville High School for some 30 years. I can't even imagine the kids who went through his classes and whose lives he touched. Many people don't realize that Don was also a town councillor back in the early 70s. And he served on so many committees with the town of Huntsville, from long-range planning, recreational trails, community services, leisure and facilities advisory committees. He was involved with the Trans-Canada Trail, Park to Park. He was vice chair of the Hunters Bay Trail Working Group, and he, along with Steve Alcock, were instrumental in getting that new floating piece of trail done and that extension done. I'm not really sure where he found time to do everything he did for his community, because he was a busy guy in pursuing sports, many sports, and also coaching, from hockey and lacrosse to cross-country skiing, tennis, swimming, downhill skiing, golfing. I would say he dabbled in photography, but he was probably darn near professional in photography and writing. And of course, he was very much the face of the Huntsville Triathlon. Don's cousin, Roy McGregor, probably said it best, in that Don gave back endlessly to his community. And for that, we are all truly grateful, and we will certainly miss Don McCormick. I think, Councillor Armour, you were going to speak to about the junior hockey game coming up.
Thank you, Worship. I'll just be quick. As Councillor Stone said, this is a very busy weekend coming up, and all part of that, the get out and support your Huntsville Junior Otters. They play Friday night. Mission is free. Just bring a non-perishable good for the food drive. As you know, with COVID hitting them, their fan base has dropped quite a bit, so they're trying to get as many people as they can. So Friday night, puck drops at 7 o'clock, and they're playing against Penetang, and I hope to see everybody there.
Great. I am going to, on resolution, I think I threw away. It's really right one away. Okay, I have a resolution moved by Councillor Withey, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Be it resolved that confirmation bylaw 2021-101 be received, numbered, and read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 22nd day of November 2021. All in favor? And that carries. And I have a resolution moved by Deputy Mayor Alcock, seconded by Councillor Stone. Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 6:47 p.m. All in favor? And that carries as well. Thank you, everyone. Remember, Wednesday is expected to be a very long day. We will, take a lunch break, so be ready. We'll take whatever breaks we need, but it looks like a long day, so